Hello, beautiful souls. So, new moon in Cancer. Also, welcome to Night's Light Astrology. But new moon in Cancer, a lot to talk about with this one. It's a new moon in Cancer that you're not really going to get a lot with the energies that it's working with. Very, very interesting. We'll get into all the aspects, of course. The way that I style this is I'm going to do a general new moon reading, and then I'll get into each zodiac sign for it. But with this new moon, it's really interesting because it is playing off of a lot of this mercurial energy that we have going on right now. And it's also interesting because we just had Mercury go cazimi, and now it's retrograding past that point. And so it is this very much burnt out messenger feeling. You know, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. So it's this burnt out feeling that you have, this moment of clarity, which would be the cazimi moment that you've recently had, which now is fading, and it's almost as if you don't know how to articulate that to the people around you, how to communicate these changes coming in to the people around you. You've got Jupiter here that is in opposition to Pluto, Jupiter in Leo, opposite to Pluto in Aquarius. And so with that energy, what it's really speaking to for you is now you know how to take your personal power back. You know how to shine your light. You know where you need to expand the things in your life. What the things in your life that really need a blessing to come in, that you need to personally bless yourself to make these changes, and how to do all those things. But there's just a hard time putting that into action as you're reflecting Mercury retrograde, as you're reflecting on these things here that are going to allow you to implement this game plan. But we still have that Mercury retrograde, which makes it harder in terms of putting that into action. Now, this is, of course, more of a Mars thing, that action, that drive and all that, but it's in Gemini. And this really gets into the highlight that I have with this new moon is ultimately it's so ruled by the moon. And this gets into the dispositors and what they're all leaning into. Everything leads back to the moon and the sun, new moon, in Cancer right here when you look at all of the planets. So it's really interesting when we're running with all this mercurial energy, analytical energy, problem-solving energy, energy that wants to communicate, but the mood isn't quite there with it. So it is this weird kind of feeling. I would also say, if you're someone who's watched this channel, there has been this liminal space that we've been existing in for, I don't know, I maybe would say like 2 to 3 months here that we've been feeling it, this liminal space, the space in between. And with this new moon here, we're going to finally start to feel that leaving now, okay? And even in the next couple of days here, as the moon immediately moves out of Cancer here and then goes right into Leo and conjuncts Leo or conjuncts Jupiter in Leo here, all of a sudden this feeling that you're having right now of maybe the mind not clicking properly with the emotions, things coming up emotionally that need to be addressed. And so that's where the problem solving can kind of come in, talking to people about these things, or maybe not feeling like you can even talk to it because of the cazimi that we had. All of those things will click more in, and you'll know what to do, and you'll feel a lot better about these things and what the game plan is, even though you'll still be working against some of these tougher energies like the Mars and Gemini, or like the Mercury retrograde that we have going on in Cancer here. What's also important to say is the Mercury retrograde in Cancer is so important with this moon, this new moon, just because it's conjunct. And so we'll look at the chart here as well, and we'll get into some of the specifics, get into all the zodiac signs, how it's going to hit you, where it's going to hit you, all of that. But that is a really key thing that I'm seeing here. And I cycle back to this, the only voice in the room is a burnt one, you know, like a burnt out voice is really what's coming through for me with this. And it's funny because like my voice is even a little crackly as I said that. But no, a burnt out voice is what's coming through with this, just because when you're looking at how important this Mercury retrograde is, the themes that are coming up from the last Mercury retrograde, which was in a water sign in Pisces, all of these things are so connected to the Jupiter in Leo, because the ruling planet of Leo is the sun, and then of course sun and moon together for the new moon. So you got those themes coming up, and then the conjunction with the Mercury retrograde in Cancer by this new moon is also really important. So we're going to look here, but if you've got something from 19 to about 25 degrees of Cancer, then that's of a cardinal sign, I should say, in Cancer. That's where it's going to be really difficult. But if you've got these placements in a water sign, you're going to find it a lot easier to work with these energies, okay? So we have that going on. And then I would also say it could be this feeling of walking out of the fire. You kind of have that too because of that Mercury cazimi, but it almost doesn't feel like fire. It feels more like a deluge. We're in that Cancer energy. It's a water sign, so it can feel like you're burnt or burnt out. You're probably getting that burnt out feeling, wanting to rest and recover at home. Cancer rules the home. But all, I don't know how to say it, walking through the water and the fire at the same time. Almost to where it feels like more of walking through the fire, but in this sense of afterwards, where you're tending to the wounds. And so this deals with like the emotional wounds. We also have Chiron and Taurus, and it's giving that sneak peek for things that are going to be worked on, especially going into next year, in the next 7-8 years here with Chiron in Taurus. That's how long it will be there. We've got that going on too, and that's making an aspect, a positive aspect though, to Jupiter in Leo here. Or actually, I think it's a square, right? Yes, that would be actually square, a negative aspect, excuse me. So it's making that negative aspect, that square to Jupiter in Leo, and so that really digs into the difficulty with this placement and with the things that are really coming in. And then we have this other thing that's going on, and I'm going to make a separate video on this called the Barbeau basket, okay? And it's a very rare placement, and it deals with civilizational resets and restarts. And so on the world stage, now we're going to move over a little bit into the mundane astrology. On the world stage, we're seeing this interesting play because America is a Cancerian nation. So how can we address all the stuff that we just addressed on a more personal level and bring that over into the world stage? Because if you really look at astrology and why it works so well, besides the fact of all the science of astrology, you could bring in Tesla's work, all that stuff. We won't even get into all that, but looking at astrology, a great way to look at it is the events that are happening in the world, which are affected by the astrology, are a great allegory or a great representation, a microcosm, macrocosm, if you will, of the events that are going to be happening in your life. Okay, and you can kind of see that play between when there's chaos in the world, all of a sudden there seems to be chaos in your life, even though that chaos in the world may not directly be affecting your life. Those kind of things. And of course, this is all going to depend on your chart, these types of things, but that's just one thing. But if we really look at America being a Cancerian nation right now and look at the things that are going on over in the Middle East right now and what's looking like this war that's popping off. And if you haven't, check out my Trinity Trigger live stream, the Trinity Trigger. And that's what I was naming. That's Mars-Uranus conjunction that we had in Gemini. And we're still in the window here, but this window of where we're really going to see things unfold that are going to define and it's specifically over the summer, but these things that unfold that are going to define the next 3 years, 8 years, you know, really dealing with these outer planets. So 15 years, 20 years, you know, in these cycles, but defining all of that. Because if you look at the financial system that we're in, say, which is really the Bretton Woods system, that was last came about during Uranus in Gemini. Okay. And so all of these systems are now going to be picked apart. You could say that they're falling apart. We just had the full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn's going to rule the institutions, okay? What are the cracks that we're going to see in the institutions? What are the leaks, more specifically, with that moon energy that we're going to see in the institutions, okay? And then a part of that now is this play, obviously, that we're seeing with Cancer, like now. So that window still is lasting, okay, until like we really go into the next full moon, essentially. But really what we're looking at with that how are those, like, what are these cracks in the systems? We're going to start seeing those. Then how is that going to affect us in our own lives, in the home, and where we feel comfort with things? Okay. And then you've got that Chiron and Taurus lingering in the background. How are we going to adjust our home life in order to deal with the resources going up in price, with not having the oil that we have? We're about to run out of our strategic oil reserves. So, these are just the world stage things. So you have that going on. Okay. And then remember, I brought up that Mercury and the burnt out voice type of thing. Okay. So you've got, within the political sphere and all that, and you can think of the person with the loudest horn, and all that, which is always going to be our president. It's just the voice is burnt out at this point. No one believes anything that's being said anymore. Okay. And so that really, you can see how that reflects on the world stage here. And during the last Mercury retrograde we had, that is when we went back into Iran. Okay. And I say back into because it seems that we had set up the border of Iran, possibly within there, a makeshift airfield, or airstrip rather. And then I'll just be honest, we got our asses kicked. Okay. And then there was the whole thing with the pilot that was up in the mountains, and they had to go get the pilot. But we don't know who the pilot is. This is all stuff I've went over on this channel. We won't even rehash it and get into it, but this just kind of shows you the energy we're working with from the prior Mercury retrograde that was in Pisces, now in Cancer, both in these water signs, of course. So really, really just important to recognize with that, okay, and how that's going to affect things on the world stage. And so in the background of all of this, we have the what I'm calling the Trinity of Convergence. And so that's Uranus in Gemini, that's Neptune in Aries, and that's Pluto in Aquarius, okay? And with that, it's making what I've been calling a mini grand trine. I guess you could call it a grand sextile as well. I just found out about that phrasing for it too. Kind of like a grand sextile, a little bit better, but making quite the harmonious aspect, although Uranus is in play, so it may not always feel all that harmonious, but yeah, we have that going on in the background. And the last time we had all of those in these signs like this that we have it now, this was the late Bronze Age collapse, the collapse of a great empire. And so you can really view that now as the collapse of the American empire. And this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years, but this is where we start to see it over this summer, the collapse of the empire, of the strength that the United States projects around the world. Okay, so we have all of that going on, okay? And then on top of it, we're now going to have the South Node that moves into Leo too. Well, what are some of the rulerships of Leo? That is going to be, just our leaders. It's a leadership energy. It's funny I bring up rulership because, you could say Leo rules rulerships or something like that. But no. But our leaders themselves, that's very much the Leo energy. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, he is an anaretic degree, 29 degrees. So we are pretty much your strongest degree right there. 29 degree Leo rising. Okay. And then he's up here in this Gemini energy. He's a Gemini sun working with all of this. So it is like a very, and he's a Uranus in Gemini too. So very much Uranian individual, a chaotic type of energy. And now we see the ways in which it's not really working for him. Back in 2016, you can even make the argument in 2020, that energy might have worked for him, and I think was very much needed. And now people are wondering, how much of that energy do we actually need? And this gets into Pluto and Aquarius, power to the people, by the people, for the people, okay? And that this is the placement of the American Revolution, Pluto in Aquarius. And so we're kind of getting back to that right now when we're at an all-time high, or you could say low, of our actual political sovereignty that we have, and our sovereignty in general, as a people, as a nation, with corporations, with all this stuff. Now we see a lot of this new energy that's coming in. And we can feel it. It's starting to reflect when we had that major conjunction earlier in the year, which was going to be, that was Saturn and Neptune in Aries. They're conjunct at 0 degrees. They're Aries, okay? A powerful conjunction on the the world point or the world axis. Okay, it's a very powerful reset energy, but you had Neptune in the mix, which is dealing with the spirit world, the dream world, the things that could be, and Saturn, the material. Okay, the foundations, that kind of thing, all of the structures, more specifically, the institutions, these things. So what, and then Neptune also dissolves things. So what are the institutions, structures, foundations that are dissolving? Earlier in the year, it was kind of coming into us seeing that, okay, like what is this? And as Saturn has separated more and more from Neptune here, we've kind of seen that start to reflect what's no longer going to work in terms of the institutions on this world stage here, and in our own lives, by the way, too. I will add, in our own lives as well. So we have that's going on. Of course, Neptune now going retrograde. It just stationed. It should be going retrograde by now, I believe. I know it will be, at least. It'll be going retrograde soon. I got the chart here, so we'll get to that. But no, we got the Neptune with the retrograde, okay? And so now all of a sudden there's this doubling back on, okay, where have we been delusional about these things, on what can still be sustained, and what can still be held up? These are really important things to ask ourselves, okay? Both in our lives, but then also with what we're looking out at in the world. Because as this summer begins to pop off here and we get that South Node in Leo, we're going to see what are these things we're leaving behind in terms of the leadership in our world. And they're the ones who are going to have to reckon with this a lot harder than us, because for us, with that North Node in Aquarius, that's always at opposition with the South Node, we're going to see how we can lean on the people around us and work together in a way where we are all exchanging value properly, and this gets into that healing energy of the Chiron and Taurus, and healing our self-worth around value. What can we contribute? What can we do in order to keep everything moving in our lives properly, as we start to see over the next few years, all this while Chiron is in Taurus, the mass layoffs, just the shortages of oil and needing to ration things properly, all of this. And we're looking a little bit farther out here, but we are getting the preview now, so that is why I bring it up, of course. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the chart here. We'll get into just some of the finer details on this chart, and then we'll jump into each sign here, okay? And then we'll do that with the, excuse me, I was looking at something. We'll do it with the zodiac signs here, and so let's get started. All right, put this down. Oh, nope. All right, excuse my background. I like fine art. All right, so we've got the chart right here. Okay, new moon in Cancer. And so with this, we already went over a lot of these placements here, okay? So I was talking about the, I'll put my mouse here. I was talking about right here, Jupiter in Leo, and then that square that we have up to Chiron. So that's important to just keep in the background here. And what that really says with the square going to Chiron, it's a big part of taking your personal power back, okay? Taking your personal power back in realizing where you have value, where you've allowed yourself to not think that you have value. There's that really important part. And then this also can get into the energy in your personal life of getting some type of raise. So you can have that, getting a raise, and then realizing you're actually worth a lot more than you sold yourself short to be. And I pulled this chart for Washington, D.C. when the full moon, or when the new moon, excuse me, is exact. So I do like to use houses on that. We can play a little bit with the houses here. But what's interesting here is the rising sign on that is also Cancer. So we get, with this chart, it is a triple Cancer chart, which is really interesting. So very deep in the emotions. I would also say, if you've noticed, this would have been for about the past week here, that we've had Mercury retrograde in Cancer. There's really been this idea of it being a psychological transit, very psychological transit. And it's so interesting because, one of the first things you'll think about with Cancer is that it's an emotional sign. And there is the emotion part of it coming up, but then it's also wanting to intellectualize your emotions, but at the same time, not intellectualize them in such a sense where you don't put off actually feeling those emotions. And it's this really weird balance to get in between, especially if you're someone who's used to working, like say that you're a very sensitive person or an emotional person. It's a really difficult and psychological energy to be working with if that is the case for you. Now, I've got my moon conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, not very emotional, so this comes a bit easier to me. But the whole thing is I need to also feel these things at the same time as there's this intellectualization of the emotions coming up. This also, which you may have seen in the last week, it brings up this like childhood memories. You could have a lot of childhood memories that are surfacing, or memories from the past, and you're wondering, do I need to carry these with me anymore? Is this something I really need to carry with me anymore? That's like really if it's a bad memory, or maybe there's a reflection on these good memories that could be surfacing too. I've really seen both of these things. For me, it's been a lot of good childhood memories that come up, and then wondering, how can I reconnect with that version of myself? How can I really get back to that state without seeming like I'm not letting go of that time of my life? You have that going on too. And so it's really interesting because then on top of that, you even have, like I said before, the Jupiter in Leo right here. Jupiter in Leo there. So with that Jupiter in Leo, that's also really going to deal with the childhood, okay? Because one deals with like the energy of your mother. I mean, especially this could be stuff around your mom or your mother figure with that Cancer energy. And then that Leo energy can really get into the father figure. And then it really depends. Sometimes you can talk about Capricorn energy, Saturn energy being the father figure. It just depends on what age you're at and when you're getting these. But for the purposes of what we're talking about, that Leo energy is going to represent the father figure. So you have this play between the memories with the father coming up with the mother, or maybe a time where they were together, that coming up too. You have all of these things really starting to surface and be dealt with. And this is part of the retrograde period. And we still got another like 2 weeks and some change, I think, left on this retrograde period for Mercury. So very important to recognize within yourself that it's normal to be having this stuff coming up. Okay, and then also, it's not like you need to deal with it just now. All you need to do is feel it, and you know, get into that intellectualization of it or rationalization of it, and it'll just pass. Okay, it really will pass, and it's especially over the next few days, you know. But this is a thing that's going to take a couple of weeks to really move through as we do this whole Mercury retrograde, and then you're gonna understand and see why we did that as we come into the conjunction with the Sun and Jupiter, or we'll probably be like leaving that conjunction right around that time. But then we'll have that going on, and Mercury is going to catch up, and then all these things are really going to make more sense as everything starts to cross over Jupiter right there. Okay. And so we're talking about in this like few week period going forward from this, obviously, but in terms of this moon, and then look at where this even falls here, okay? Because if we're going to do, say that you live in the US and you're looking at this, you know, I'm reading this chart to you, okay? This is all going to register because we're doing the capital of the United States, which is Washington, D.C. Now, of course, when we have the chart of the United States itself, that is going to be Philadelphia, but that was the capital at the time, the de facto capital at the time of the revolution of, you know, 1776 and all that. So really, as we've moved the center of power to Washington, D.C., you're going to cast the chart from there. But even if this was in Philadelphia, it would be roughly the same chart anyway, with the houses and everything like that. So, but yeah, you can see all this stuff is in the first house. So it's hitting you on a very personal level. This is hitting the retrograde, is hitting everyone on a personal level. You can see all these planets here, this bundle of planets, Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, Jupiter, all in that first house ruling the self, okay? Ruling the self, even like you could say the ambition or drive comes into it too. And then, you know, when you have that ambition drive thing that's coming into it, some of that rulership you always can give to Leo as well, like with the ambition and stuff like that. But that's Jupiter in Leo right there. So you're working with some of that Leo energy already. So very much driving in on the self, how it relates to the parents, how it relates to your home, your emotional state. Are you being allowed to glow and be in your brightest state and all this. And this is where that seed really gets planted. And this is what new moons are about. It's about planting that seed. It's about the idea coming in, about how to move forward. It's about that reset. Okay. All of these things are really what come up in the new moon. And so another thing, I think this is like really the last thing I will say on it, because we went pretty deep into just the general reading here, but we'll look at the dispositors. Okay, so the reason I say this is such a big ruler here, with the moon like totally ruling this chart and everything, is because, so you've got let's just start with Jupiter in Leo. Okay, so Jupiter is in Leo. Okay, well, what's going on since Jupiter's ruled by Sag? Anything going on in Sag? Nope, nothing going on in Sag. We just have the fixed stars that I have right there in Sag. So then you look to, okay, well, what's the ruler of Leo? Well, the ruler of Leo is the sun. That's in Cancer. Okay, what's the ruler of Cancer? Oh, well, that's the moon right there. So you end up finding that dispositor back. And then you can go over here to Venus right here. Okay, Venus in Virgo. Okay, so Venus rules over Libra and Taurus. Well, we have nothing going on in Libra or Taurus except for Chiron, but that's an asteroid. So once you see that there's nothing going on in there, okay, well, what's the ruler of Virgo here? So we'll go back to that. Oh, well, that is Mercury, and that's in Cancer right there. And it's in that conjunction, of course, too, with the sun and the moon. And then you can look over here at Mars. Well, let's so Mars, what's ruled by Mars here? That's Aries, and that's got Saturn. Well, you can't really go over to Capricorn or Aquarius there, because you know that's then you start to get into the outer planets, so you're not really necessarily dispositing over to that. But then what you have here with Saturn and the ruler of Saturn, you go back over here to Aries, okay, or I'm sorry, or you go back over here to Gemini, okay, and then what's the ruler of Gemini? That's Mercury. So then you bring all these dispositors back here into this Cancerian energy. So everything right now is pointing towards these internal things that are going on with the emotions and getting you ready. And it's this wrapping up of these things I've been talking about for the last like couple months. So when we had all of these planets that were crossing over here over Uranus in Gemini there, it was this restructuring of the nervous system, restructuring of the belief system, okay, restructuring now that we've recently had of the emotional body with all this action in Cancer. And this really is that last step. This is putting a bow on it, this restructuring of the emotional body that we have going on, okay? And so that is just oh so important, and it is I would argue the most important step too, in order to be able to process all of this new stuff that we're going to see start coming in over this summer here, okay? And as far as my predictions go, and then we'll move to the signs here. I'm pretty sure I've got the proper, okay, cool, I've got that open. So then we'll move to the signs. But no, this is the most important part, putting a bow on it in terms of being able to emotionally handle the things that are going to come in, to actually feel safe and secure. And it still feels a little weird because of this restructuring of the nervous system, of the belief system, waiting for new capacities to come in, and new beliefs to come in with everything that is going to unfold over these next few years, and as we see it start over this summer. So a really, really beautiful chart in my opinion. It's going to feel like a much more difficult chart to work with, though, definitely. And we have but the good thing is about these harder aspects emotionally and all that, with dealing with prior trauma and all of that, it's softened by the fact that we have the south node right here in 0 degrees Virgo, okay, and it's making that trine to Chiron. So it does assist with the harder aspects of the square to Chiron by the sun and the moon, and I guess, or I'm sorry, by Jupiter, excuse me, but by that Jupiter right there. And Jupiter is a benefic too. So even though it's that difficult placement, you still have really a lighthearted, more of a lighthearted feeling to what's being addressed here. And then, of course, we're working with the mini grand trine, or mini grand sextile, going on right here. And that's Neptune, Uranus, and then Jupiter right here, actually. So actually, this is another one that I'm looking at. Excuse me. So we have two of these mini grand sextiles, and this is actually what the essentially what the Barbeau basket is. So we're going to do a whole separate video on this, but we were only dealing with the Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus was the one that we were dealing with. But now that Jupiter has come into place, it adds that. So you have two of those. And yeah, that's a whole nother video we'll do. So make sure to subscribe, to follow if you want to know more about the Barbeau basket, because we're going to do a whole deep dive on that and the last time it came up and what the civilizational kind of reset was that came in around that. And we're seeing that besides the fact that all three of these outer planets are also just in places they were at during major wars, and we have them all at the same time, not just one but all of them at the same time. First time since the last time it was in each of those respective wars, we get all three at once. So this is really speaking to something big that's coming in. And then in terms of the houses too, you're probably under this moon, like this is definitely disruption to your networks and stuff. I think with a lot of us who have been going through changes, there is a disruption in our friend networks and all that, with people noticing the differences. And it's at that point now, because remember what I said about the Mercury right there in Mercury retrograde in Cancer and all that, what it is with the burnt out voice. And this is like burnt out communication. Obviously, anything with Mercury retrograde is going to be communication issues. So maybe people aren't talking about it, but they sense it, and you sense that they sense it, because Cancer is going to be an intuitive sign as well. But really, there's kind of this knowing that there's going to be a change, a disruption that comes in the friend groups, but you have to do it for your own highest good. Okay, and then that even gets into the Uranus square with Venus right now. This could also be where you may notice someone around you, because you got that in the third house. But even just this placement in general, you may notice someone that you find to be attractive, that you want to be around, even just as a friend. And then all of a sudden, in like the next few days, you realize, oh no, this isn't someone I actually want to be around. Like, what was I kind of thinking? But and if it's someone that you're kind of interested in more than that, this could tell you about like what your type is. If this is like more of a physical attraction than just wanting to be a friend with this person, this can tell you a bit more about what your type is, and having you confront your type a little bit, and like why all of a sudden this person gives you the ick, but why they didn't under this. That will give you a lot of clarity too, especially if you notice a standstill in your love life. So you got that. And then we also have this square of Chiron to Pluto too. Another difficult aspect. And so what's going to be going on with the collective, what's going to be done to us all as a collective, that's going to really tie into, oh, okay, things aren't how they were. We're going to have to readjust with the resources and all that. And so just looking at all this, it really speaks to what we see going on the world stage, and how we are pretty much about to run out of the oil. Prices are about to skyrocket. We're going to have all these things, and it's up to us as light workers, okay, as light warriors, if you will, to be able to ground everyone around us and know that we can get through this as long as we all work together, as long as we aren't fighting against one another. And the people to really be fighting against, this is that South Node in Leo, are going to be the people in power. The people to stand up against are going to be the people in power, who put us in this situation because of the disdain that they have for us, and show us every day because of the money they can send everywhere else, but not help their own citizens, okay? And so this is really where we start to understand and reach that clarity around how it's just not ever going to be the way that it was. And we're finally starting to move into this new world. We've been in this new world really since earlier this year, but now is where we really truly start to see it reflect, especially with that Neptune retrograde that we're going into. It's just starting to station right now, but with that Neptune retrograde, this is where we start to see, well, actually it's retrograde now, it says here, sorry. But this is where we see that, okay? So just, yeah, so that's the chart. We'll pull up the chart individually for each zodiac sign here. So I do have the thing open. And, I've got a tarot pull for this too, by the way, that I did. So what we're going to do here, I just put the cards up here. I just pulled this maybe an hour ago. I've had the cards laying here for the new moon. So hopefully this shows up pretty well if I can get it. There's the Strength card. Okay. And we've got the Justice card. Then we've got the Queen of Swords. Okay, right there. Queen of Swords. Oh, if I can face this the right way. There we go. Queen of Swords. Okay, and so I thought that this was pretty on brand with what we have going on in the sky right now, because the Strength card is going to be, it's like a Leo card. It's the sun, okay? And then we've got that Jupiter in Leo right now. So you have the strength to get through this period. That's the first thing to remember. You have the strength to get through this. Oh, excuse me. And you are going to get through it, okay? But, and really it's about reaching that area of the chart. Okay, so you have that strength to get through it. You're going to be okay, and you're going to do it through your heart center. Okay, so we'll read here, strength. The lion is soothed, not slain. Leo is where Jupiter now sits, and the sun rules it. Grace arrives through the heart, not by force. Okay, and then we've got the Queen of Swords. And so this is going to be dealing with mental energy, of course. And this is why I say it's a psychological thing. But then, you know, you got like that queen, that nurturing feeling. That's where the Cancer kind of comes in, okay? So that's really interesting. And then it's interesting because it also deals with astrologically the Virgo Libra cusp with the Queen of Swords. And we have Venus in Virgo right now. So that was so interesting for me. Clear sight through grief, water of air, the mind drowned in feeling, which is Mercury retrograde and combust in Cancer. So on brand for what we get. And I love that these polls I've been doing for the moons, for the new moons, because it's just crazy how well they tie in with just what's going on, you know? And then we have the Justice card, and this is a Libra card, okay? And maybe this is kind of what's coming in as we get Venus going into Libra. And it's going to be interesting because Venus will go into Libra, then it will go into Scorpio, then it will retrograde back into Libra. So I think this is really speaking to the future, though, the reckoning. But Venus is in fall, and Saturn, exalted in Libra, sits in his own fall. The verdict is written, not read. Okay? And so what this is like, you have the strength to get through this. There's going to be, of course, with the Justice card, this balancing of the scales, this karma coming back around. Saturn is karmic, you know, and like there's that Saturnian thing that comes right in there, okay? And not so much, you know, what it says there with the Saturnian thing. So there's a Saturnian aspect that comes in, but then there's this Libra Venusian energy. And really, when we're dealing with that Venus retrograde that's going to be Scorpio and Libra there, this is really speaking even more to what's going on the world stage, what's going on in your personal life, and why it's so important to find your value right now and understand the value you have isn't necessarily just in the money that you make, okay? Because think of how fast that can change if things in the world change. Okay, so really it's just about knowing, and then the verdict is written, not read. Okay, so you get to write your verdict. You have control over this thing, if that makes sense. Okay, you get to write that stuff out. And so with that sun, you have the strength to do it. Okay, you have to get through this kind of mind being drowned in feeling kind of thing, or over intellectualizing of the emotions. There's an interesting play, it's going to depend on your chart, of something that's going on between the mind and the emotions, and there's not a clicking going on in the usual way right now. And it's because you're supposed to be addressing something right now during this time, and it's a difficult time to get through. Like I said, very psychological. We'll look at over here what it says, the thread. 2 majors and 1 court card. Strength is Leo, ruled by the sun. Justice is Libra, ruled by Venus. The queen is the only human in the pull, the one who must think while grieving. And so this kind of gets about grieving the way the world used to be. We'll see what happens on the world stage here soon. We kind of see a lot of things are popping off. We see, you know, Lindsey Graham just passed away. There's even weird stuff around that. It happened during a Mercury retrograde, guys. So you kind of got to be like, did he really just like pass away in his house? Or why are there FBI swarming his house if it was just that he passed away from a heart thing going on? And then like within 24 hours of him passing away, he was like over in Ukraine checking out a drone facility. And, you know, there's conspiracy theories going on, which aren't that far-fetched, on Russia being the ones who actually are responsible for the death of Lindsey Graham. Then you have Mitch McConnell too. No idea what's going on there. I guess he's been on bed rest, but then they released a picture of him and his wife today. But she was apparently in China, but now she's here. And then the picture is weird, and it looks like AI when you look at like the thumb and the newspaper and the weird thing that he's holding. So this just is a little bit of a preview to show you some of the stuff that's coming in here. And that's the only reason why I bring that up, because this is going to reflect your own personal life. Okay. So that is the tarot pole, and then we'll get started here on the new moon. So just generally with the new moon, what it is and all that stuff, just in case, you know, you don't know or anything. Sun and moon meet at the same degree. The moon goes dark. This is the 0 point of the 29.5-day cycle. How we read it is a reset, a 0 point, the month's headline for that house. And once a month, the sun and moon sit in the same room. What you consciously want and what you instinctively need point at the same place. And so this really deals with the conscious and the subconscious coming together, okay? And that's where something new can be seeded. So that's what's really important about the new moon. And this is where you get like this is where new beginnings comes in with the new moon. People will talk about that, okay? And then whole sign. Yeah, so we're going to go into this and everything. But I mean, you know, you just find Cancer in your chart. That house is the field, a blank page, a fresh cycle, where the house is the where. Okay, so, and then, yeah, so let me go up here. Okay, and then we are going to start here. Go ahead and start. Let me kind of lean back a little bit because we're going to be, okay, we're going to get started here with Aries Sun, Aries rising. Okay, it just says Aries rising on there. That's just because of my PowerPoint coming together and all that stuff, but this is for Aries Sun and Aries rising. Okay, this new moon is going to be in your 4th house. Okay, very straightforward, as I always say with Aries rising. Okay, so what is coming together with the subconscious and the conscious mind here about what you actually want and need in this world? There's a convergence around something around having to deal with the home, okay? And then this is even going to spread out. We've got the Mercury retrograde in Cancer. This is going to spread out to the 3rd house and the 6th house, okay? So it's going to be dealing with this could be someone that you live with. This could be a brother or a sister in your life. This could be friends, okay? There's some connection between that and between your daily work grind and your health, okay? That is tying back to the home, and there's this new seed that needs to be planted for you at this time, okay? Really, really important to know. And this is in the backdrop. You can check out my other videos and subscribe if this is something that you like, you know, but check out my other videos here, because I did for every zodiac sign a Mercury retrograde reading, and I did a Jupiter and Leo reading. So I have those just as a short version right here. And this is Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your 4th house. The reversal ran through your 4th. The retrograde ran through your 4th. Home and family comes backwards. Old roots resurfacing. A living situation call under review. The line was renegotiate the home front. Don't sign the lease yet. And so there's very much could be like a move because people are getting in the way of the things that you need to accomplish and get done. Okay. So that's really important now that you do those hard things, because with this incredible energy with Jupiter, Leo in your 5th, you need to be able to expand and have fun in your life. And so there's something with the home, and then this could be very specifically with roommates, okay? But then also there's just play on what's going on in the work environment too, especially as Venus comes in here to Virgo. There's just an interesting play. But then you're really looking at the Mercury retrograde here and what it rules. You know, it rules Gemini and Virgo. And so that's what you have with that 3rd and 6th house. Something with work, something with friends, roommates, brothers, sisters, you know, these closer associates that you're around. And you need to communicate something with them that is going to have to deal with the living situation. And this is so you can get back into your heart space, get back into your creativity, okay? And what you don't want to do is go too far, though, with the like with the gambling, with just having too much fun with things. So gambling is just one thing. Over gambling, over promising on projects, all these things. That's the shadow side of Jupiter and Leo. So these are things to look out for. But this whole retrograde period is going to be about you, and especially now that the new moon has come in, is really going to be about this stuff being addressed. But ultimately, you saw that tarot pole we had. this is going to go in a good place for you. It's going to be in a good place ultimately. You just may not feel it for about another month. Okay. All right. And then with Taurus rising, Taurus sun, Taurus rising. Okay. So you can use this for your sun sign or your rising sign for Taurus. Okay. And this is going to be going on in your third house. So this is dealing with like, you know, closer friends, neighbors, siblings, that kind of stuff. And then also just communication itself. And it's but there's this play on that, and then this energy in the home, but also you could say this more emotional energy too. Even if the home part might not hit for you, there is this emotional energy. And it's like, am I like truly communicating what my desires are to, you know, these people in my life? Is there this true communication going on with that? And then in some way that is that's messing with your ability to connect with your heart space, to connect with your creativity, and then also to connect with like not even connect, but and then also having to do with your income, with your resources, with your self-worth, with these things that are coming up. These are things that, you know, is really the accent that comes in. That's why I got accent down there, because these are the houses that Mercury is going to be ruling in yours. Okay. But these are the accents that it's really dealing with. So let's go ahead and read my readings here from the Mercury retrograde in Cancer and Jupiter in Leo. These are from my prior presentations, of course. And then we'll get into a little bit more of this. Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your third house. Mercury ran its home turf in your third. The classic garble. Texts misfiring, tech glitching, sibling and neighbor mix-ups. Back up the data, reread before you send. And yeah, of course I brought this up. This is just to give you a little background, because we're talking about the moon, guys, okay? We're going to keep it on point. And then Jupiter and Leo in your fourth house. Jupiter blesses your fourth. This is the house of the home, okay? House of your foundations, your roots. A bigger home, a move up, real estate, family growth, roots that finally hold. Shadow overextending on the house, obligations ballooning, okay? And so there is this expansion that is meant to happen within the home, and it's really, this retrograde period is about like, okay, am I needing to reevaluate friendships so I can take this next step in the home, okay? Am I needing to also to be able to connect with myself, to be able to be more nurturing, like say you like perhaps that you're going to be a new mother or something like that. We're really in that season, aren't we? Where you could be finding out that you're going to be a parent, or you're going to have these new responsibilities that come in. And then that's really where you all of a sudden see this play that's going on in the second house, which really is going to deal with your income, with your resources and all that. And a disruption that may come in around that is really important. And then also on top of that, Venus going into your fifth house, where there is going to be a part of you that's able to be more creative, but there's going to need to be like an analytical nature or a planning and a mindset around it. That's why I just bring up like, I don't know, like having a kid, that like it makes me think about that. But even if that doesn't apply to you, it's more about being stricter with your finances, budgeting, so that you can actually go out and do these vacations if you want to go on vacation, because you got that vacation energy that comes in with Jupiter or Leo. I mean, for you, it's going to be in the fourth house, so it's a little different. It's kind of almost even like a staycation. If you need to go on a staycation, you have that kind of stuff going on too. But there is really this huge emphasis on the home and other people and reshuffling the deck with all the way that all of that is falling, okay? And so with this new moon, there is going to be that seed that's planted, that reset that comes in, that allows you to move through the rest of this Mercury retrograde in Cancer with a lot more ease, and knowing kind of what the game plan is. So you can kind of double back, you can renegotiate things, you can refigure things out, especially when it can come to the finances. Is more specifically, work is something that's going to come up, but like your daily work, but the finances more specifically is something that's coming in. And then you're also just going to want to check when it comes to like your resources with others. But you could have unexpected money that comes in, and then you also want to plan for that too. That's a big part of these placements too, is unexpected money that allows you to do things in the home. And so these are just those themes that you're going to see coming up. And yeah, I don't want to like say it too specifically, but I gave you a lot of different examples in the way that this can hit your chart. Okay. All right. Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising. new moon in your second house, okay? So yeah, new moon's going to be in your second house. This is really dealing with your self-worth. This is dealing with your income, with your resources, with all of that stuff, okay? And with that, you've already got the Mercury retrograde that's going on there too. So you've probably been feeling this coming on a bit earlier than other people are who are going to feel this new moon that comes in. But this is where you can see a huge turnaround in these things that have been addressed maybe over the last week. And then especially with an unexpected person coming in, an unexpected offer coming in too, that deals with work, okay? That really deals with the work environment. And then also an interesting work opportunity that could be around, well, yeah, I mean, you technically could have something interesting come in around, I want to say like investing at work or like a new investment program, something new, like a partnership. That's interesting too. That's a little lesser though. But what I would say is, yeah. And then a reevaluation because of an opportunity that comes in around the home situation too. So this is another chart that's really getting aspected in what's going on in the home situation, both with the money that's coming in that should allow you to that could allow you to move into a new place, but then you have to kind of go through this planning and figure out like, who do I want to live with, who do I want to attract to myself. That's with Venus over there in the fourth house, okay? That's really, and you know, that's in Virgo, so that's really, you're dealing with that stuff with this lunation here. So that's going on. And then also with what's going on in your first house with Uranus there, it brings up these abrupt and sudden changes. And you also have Mars in there too. Like, so that really activates some stuff in your first, and these are changes that will like really change you as a person, but it's more about you moving into like, this is your time now that Uranus is in Gemini, okay? Because yeah, like it's really upending all these things. It's like, nope, you're worth more, you are worth more than this, so this has got to go. Here's a new opportunity for you to come in where you can make more money. Okay, now you need to figure out, who do you want to live with. Don't live with these same kind of people you've been living with. No, you want to live with like these kind of people, and so I'm gonna like push these people towards you. So you're gonna have these unexpected meetings that come in, okay? You're gonna have like all that. And then, yeah, this kind of touches on the Mercury retrograde and Cancer stuff that I've already done the videos on. But Mercury ran its home turf in your third, the classic garble, text misfiring, tech glitching, sibling and neighbor mix-ups, back up the data, reread before you send. Okay, so, or, oh, wait, never mind. I like totally went to the wrong slide. I was like, didn't I already read that? No, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your second house. Okay, reversal at your second, money and self-worth back under a microscope. Big purchases on hold, old payment or income thread resurfacing. And so that's what I essentially had just said to you when I was reading it for you, but you know, just it's there, so we'll read it off. And then Jupiter and Leo in your third house. Jupiter in your third, content creator's dream, voice, writing, teaching, pitching, all reach further. Shadow, scattered, too many open tabs, talking bigger than you're building. And this is the thing that I brought up in that video too, in my Jupiter Leo video, is the whole thing, if you're a Gemini right now, is understanding that with Gemini is that like the reason you're having these shifts in your money in the living situation, either whether it's like a prospective living situation, or it's something that's coming now, or you'll just see it during this Mercury retrograde or something. The reason all that's coming in is so you can focus on the things that are actually really important to you, and so you can focus on these like projects that you have that are on like a type of that maybe been on the back burner, okay? But it's about you not so much pouring everything into one thing, because you are Gemini, and so like you can do like multiple things, but not doing like way too many things where you're just scattered all over the place. That's really what this is kind of about refining that in that time, okay? But yes, that whole thing is really going to come up with money, okay? Money and your self-worth, okay? And like, how much of your self-worth are you pulling from your home situation, you know, from your care for other people, for wanting to nurture other people, these kind of things. All that's going to really come up and be very important, and will get addressed, and ultimately it's going to lead you into becoming the new version of yourself that is so key in this time where we have all this air Gemini energy, but then also the fire energy as well, because you're going to work well with that fire energy. That's just like the way it goes, you know. So yeah, that's say that's pretty much Gemini. All right, Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising. You've got the new moon in your first house, okay? And so this is really going to be dealing with you've got the where a Gemini is dealing with this kind of disruption and like all of a sudden getting like thrust onto this new thing that is going to transform them. For you, you get it in this more Cancerian way, which is really nice ultimately because you are a Cancer, where it's a lot more stable, okay? But there is going to be stuff addressed around your self-image, okay? And around, like, it really gets into the stuff that I was even talking about with the general Cancer reading, because that general Cancer reading I gave is going to fit the most closely to any Cancer, and that was at the beginning of the video, but to any Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising, that's going to fit very closely to you, the general reading itself. But this is a new evaluation around the self right now. Okay, and then what things have been coming up during this retrograde period for the last week? What seed is going to be planted here during this new moon that is really dealing with, okay, what things within my internal being am I subconsciously getting pointed towards, and am I consciously wanting to change in myself? And how can those things come together in a process here that it's okay if it takes me a couple weeks to perfect it, but to where I can really live and be my true authentic self. And through that, I'm going to attract better people to myself karmically, because, this whole accent thing going on in the 3rd and the 12th house, and especially with Uranus, that's in your 12th house for the next, 7 years. That's going to be something, especially when Mars keeps coming around, which I think it's like 3 more times, or 2 or 3 more times, 2 more times, I think. Because we already had this one time, but no, every time like Mars is coming back around, every other year, when you have that happening, how is that going to affect the people that you bring in? Because you've got that karmic kind of past life stuff from the 12th house that you can see, okay? It's the house of Pisces. It's that spiritual house. And so if you've been attracting like the wrong types of people into your life, this is that time to really evaluate, like, what can I change within myself to change my vibration and bring in the right people? And then through that, I'm going to have the right work environment too, because this is so important, because you got Jupiter that's coming into your 2nd. That is this leveling up of money, of growing your income in a huge major way, and almost an effortless way, and making sure you're not around people who are going to siphon, because money is energy, around people who are going to siphon that off of you, okay? And then that even brings me into that 3rd house right there with Venus right there, the people that you're going to be attracting yourself, but then also money itself, and that's in Virgo, which is the workhorse, but it's also very analytical. It's about having a game plan for your money as this new money comes in. Okay, what's your game plan going to be for that, so you don't just and so it says it even right here, shadow of the Jupiter and Leo, lifestyle creep. Jupiter inflates the spending just as fast as the earning. So are you going to keep spending the money as your earning goes up, coming from this place of lack, like you need to spend it and get the material things, or like will you be able to hold back on it? So I'll read these really quick. Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your first. Retrograde's been sitting on your rising with the sun, self-image and signals scrambled, the whole thing landing in your own sign. The line was, slow down how you present yourself, okay? And that's another thing is kind of just, you could be a Cancer rising that needs to put the brakes on things a little bit too. And or even just taking some time to retreat and rest. That could be a big thing right now too. But there is this whole thing around the self, around how you're showing up in the world, and not so much compromising yourself, because you do have Jupiter in Leo. You want to be yourself, okay? But it's about, what's the new way that I can show up, especially with the South Node about to move into Leo too. What's the new way I can show up? And then what are the things I can leave behind without actually completely altering myself, to where I'm still being authentic? Leo rules authenticity. So to where I'm still being authentic within myself. That's really important, okay? But yeah, Jupiter opens up real money growth window. In your 2nd, income and self-worth expand together. We already read the shadow thing. That's the lifestyle creep. So it's like, make sure you're actually doing something with this new money that comes in, with this new self-worth that's going to come in too. Okay. And like we said, we went over what those accents are too. And yeah, so I'm feeling pretty satisfied with that one. We'll move on to the next. All right, Leo Sun, Leo Rising. Okay, so this is going to be going on in your 12th house, this new moon. Okay, so there was some type of seed here that's going to be really getting planted that is very karmic. And you're not going to notice it at first. It's going to be very hidden. Okay, but it's also going to be very spiritual. And it's something that you're really going to see come back later on. If you don't see it come back in like a month and a half or so, like that, like a month to a month and a half, if you don't see it around that time, then you will see it next year around this time, which is so interesting. Oh, excuse me. It would be something that you see, especially if you have like a later birthday in Leo, or you're like a late degree Leo rising, something like that. Then that's when you would really see it. Okay, it would be like a year from now, but there is some type of seed that's being planted here that's coming from the 12th. It's very karmic. It's based around the home, obviously, the emotion and all this. And there's something right now that you're not aware of, okay? And you're going to want to run this back. Whatever this is going to hit differently. There's like one person I'm thinking of in particular where like this is totally hitting, but like, and actually I know a couple Leo rising. So it's like, this stuff will definitely hit, but this is about that time of kind of like looking under every, like, what is it? Every floor mat, or, just like checking every nook and cranny of things in a symbolic way, but also like physically within the home too, but just making sure everything's good. And then also at the same time planting a type of seed that can come back around. And so where are you going to plant that seed? Like really through looking at everything in the home? Not necessarily. It's going to be through that accenting that comes in, okay? Through the 11th and 2nd house. So this can be squirreling some money away. Okay, like squirreling some money away and just forgetting about it, letting it grow, making like, or even say making an investment. There could be a good investment to make right now. If you got a little bit of extra money just like jangling around that you may end up needing at a future time from now with things that are coming up. And then of course there is this disruption that we see going on within the friend groups, okay, within the networks. That's with the 11th house stuff, but then that's where you can hide something like away, or where you can see this thing comes back around. There could have been a person in your friend group who like you totally thought was on your side, and then you find out later on this person wasn't, and you only find this out after they get removed from the friend group. There's something like that you could see coming on. And then this even gets into this Jupiter Leo reading that I did, Jupiter in Leo, okay, is that if you're a Leo right now, there's very much this feeling of getting away from things, releasing from things that have been like energetically vampiric to you, okay? Whether this is a person who's been an energy vampire, okay? Or people around you who haven't like allowed you to be yourself and to glow as yourself, as your sun, because you are the sun, and you need to be allowed that space to do that and not be made to feel bad about it, and then people, especially like if there's a person who's like an Aquarius or something, the opposite sign of that, I definitely get that a lot, or like heavy Aquarian placements, who don't like allow you to be that. You could see that with significant others too, who are very much of that Aquarian vibe, where it's just like, no, I can't let you shine, I can't let you take, or you're creating too much attention, you're like blowing up our spot, like that kind of thing. Like you don't want to deal with that because you need to be allowed to glow during this time, okay? But right now, this is about this time to retreat and to rest and all that, and through that, you're going to find something that's going to be very karmic, okay? And it is going to have some tie over to like your money. And this, like I said, this could be a personal investment. This could be like money that even just comes in from working a long time ago at like an old job that you forgot about. It's just something about money there that's like hidden, or could be hidden, or is good for later. That's going to be karmic. And it's something about the friend group that's very karmic too. And this time of rest, retreat, solitude in the home, getting to know yourself, getting back in tune with your emotions and all of that, so that you can go forward in this new energy in the way that you need to, and not be obstructed from the things or thing that has been obstructing you, especially now that we've got this retrograde Neptune in the 9th house. It's going to be seeing where you believed in something that like totally was just not what it was, Okay, and with the Pluto retrograde too, you know, that's got that opposition to Jupiter going on. I mean, this is like the last hump to get through, Leo. Okay, it really is, and like this is really gonna be your year. Okay, like from you know, like Leo season this year until Leo season next year. It's like your year to really, and you're getting through this last hump of it. So definitely use your time wisely on this. And we'll read this. Reversal ran. The reversal ran your 12th, excuse me, 12th house. That is the Mercury retrograde. That is the reversal. Old ghosts in the DMs, secrets resurfacing, a behind the scenes rethink rather than a public one. This is what I say, like getting behind the scenes, you know, getting into this place where you can kind of get into this space, this old spiritual space that you used to get in, getting into that space again, you know. And then through that, all of a sudden, you can kind of, in this very Scorpio-like fashion, like resurrect yourself, transform yourself and ignite and be an even brighter glow than you were before, okay? And then there's going to be this theme of around like 12 years ago. What was going on with me 12 years ago? And this theme and this weird corollary between 12 years ago and now. And this is going to bring up shadow stuff. And that's going to be around what this new seed is being planted that deals with this whole retrograde period of, you know, this emotion / mental thing that's up here. Okay, so but yeah, Jupiter crossed your, oh yeah, we already read that. Yeah, and then glow up presence magnetism. This gets into the energy vampire thing, the magnetism. Okay, whole new chapter of identity. Okay, because Jupiter's coming into that first house, so you're still dealing with that first house stuff, but this is like your new chapter of identity. So like, and then, you know, the south node that's going to come in, what am I going to need to leave behind from my identity? It's kind of similar to the Cancer rising, because you got similar house stuff going on. Not quite the same, but you know, it's a little bit different here. But yeah, the unseen, retreat, closure, spirit, all that kind of stuff in the 12th. So those are all the things that we brought up. Really, really important. We brought up those accents. So, you know, you're getting through the last hurdle, Leo, okay? But once you get through this hurdle, it's all going to make sense what was going on. And it's all going to actually end up in a better spot than it's at right now. Even though, especially with that south node coming in, it's going to feel like everything's being torn away from you. Okay, for specifically like for the next year, there's going to be some moment in this next year where everything feels like it's being torn away from you, but you'll understand why. And that may take up to a year and a half to really get there. All right, Virgo Sun, Virgo Rising. All right, and so this is going on in the 11th house, okay? And then with the 11th house, this is like your friends, networks, community. This is actually like your hopes too. Not really so much the dreams, but like your hopes. And so what are you really going to see, Virgo, in terms of your hopes? That is the seed that's being planted. It's about, you know, this retrograde period has been around like reevaluating your hopes, your networks, your community, that kind of stuff. And then even maybe letting old connections come back. That was a big part of, and it's still going on, so it is a big part of the Mercury retrograde in Cancer. But there's going to be a seed around that's being planted. It is going to have to deal with career, and it's going to have to deal with yourself and your relationship to your career. That's going to be a big thing that comes up. And with all that coming up, then all of a sudden there's some things that you're going to realize, and it may take a year for this all to really come around and pay off, okay? Because Jupiter Leo is the 12th house for you, okay? And so this is a year where really like you may have people, and this is kind of the whole networks thing that comes in, okay? There's going to be people that may come back in and may support you in these really hidden ways, in these even karmic ways, okay? They come in that way to support you, and you build up these things, and you kind of stay off the scene for a little bit, and then your huge blow up year is next year, okay? That's like the huge blow up year for you, okay? And I'm a Virgo rising, okay? I'm a Taurus sun, so the Taurus reading was hitting me too, but I am a Virgo rising. And you can use this for sun or rising. I want to be specific though, but that's really what you have going on there. So it's really about kind of just having this retreat moment, kind of similar to the Leo, but Leo aren't going to be doing it for as long, okay? And really for you, you're going to really want to be just in this grind and having a payoff that comes next year from the grind that you can do behind the scenes this year. So whether it's upgrading something within your career, You can have something like that. There could even be a career disruption, losing your job that comes in. You build up something in the meantime, or you've been building something up. You need to build some more of it up. You can feel your job loss coming on. All these kind of things are at play with the planets we're looking at and where they're placed in this chart. But quiet year that pays off loudly. Healing, hidden support, things resolving without a fight. Shadow is over retreat, isolation, generosity that quietly drains you. So don't give too much of yourself. Put things into your work. Make sure you are doing the work behind the scenes that needs to be done. Okay? Work behind the scenes that needs to be done, but don't just stay there. You still need to engage with the networks and allow these gifts to come in through the networks that are really going to just pay off. But this is kind of that year we have here, this next year, of really revising networks, group plans, that kind of stuff, and then seeing what really is in alignment for me and where I want to go with my career, with my hopes, with the people around me, with the people I associate with my community. Okay, because there's this huge aspect of Virgo where it's the service we give to other people, and so we need to make sure we're not giving too much of ourselves. We need to build something for ourselves in silence, because it's just the way we are with the Virgo energy, is we kind of need to build things in silence sometimes, and before people can find out about them, because that's the only way it can grow, and then we can use it to be of service to other people versus people latching on, because we're technically always going to be a little over generous, more generous than most people. That's just the way that we are, the way that we're built. But sometimes there's a moment to pull back here, because people get so accustomed to it, they don't realize sometimes you need a moment to really structure some things. So I would even call it a year of structuring for you. This is where that seed gets planted, though. This is where you get a reset around the friend groups, around maybe your hopes in something. Something's coming up around that to where you can hit this isolation properly and really start to build things and have this whole year of building. All right, Libra Sun, Libra Rising. New moon is in your 10th house, okay? Mercury retrograde in Cancer is also in your 10th house, obviously, because it's conjunct, so this is really, for Libra, this is coming up around the career in a huge, very positive career, reset or next step or seed that gets planted, all of that. And then also with Libra rising, if you've got anything around that 22 degrees, so this can be you could say 19 degrees to about 25 degrees, somewhere in there, then really what you, and technically, I mean, it can be a little bit wider than that, but roughly around that. This is where you see it can definitely be a difficult aspect, okay? It's definitely a much more difficult aspect that you're dealing with that. So just be aware of that. But there's going to be something comes in that's hard to work with. This is going to be involving your feelings around your career, where you want your career to go, where you're hopeful for it to go. But, there's that hope that comes in with the career that is just so beautiful, because you've got Jupiter in the 11th house of hopefulness, okay? Of where that hope is coming in and all that. And Jupiter is a planet that's going to bless. Venus going into your 12th house, that can always be a little bit of a difficult transit, but that's really blessings coming in a disguised form. Blessings coming in that don't look like blessings. It's a hidden blessing, you know what I mean? But you don't realize it at the time. It's also at fall. Venus is at fall in there, so it's definitely a rougher kind of feeling, but it's actually so incredible what's happening with your career right now, these changes that are going to come in, and especially where it can come in with unexpected travel for work. That could be going on unexpected. Maybe you have to publish something or launch something sooner than expected too, but then it ends up just being this great thing. You have that comes in, but there is something really around that. And then there's this play off of how it's going to feel in your home life. Okay. That's the really interesting part. How is this going to feel in the home life, to where there's some interesting play off of that too. But then also you have to think about the play of this over intellectualizing of emotions. Don't overthink it. How does this feel? Oh, well, the last time I felt like this happened. Okay, well, this isn't that time. This is a new time. This is a new thing that's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and read these. Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your 10th house. The reversal ran your 10th. Career comms backwards. Boss or reputation matter pulled back under review. The line was renegotiate rather than launch. And I like that. And so that was the reading that I had really given for the 10th house. Now we're just adding the new moon in there. So this was my Mercury retrograde reading from before, but we're just adding the new moon into it. And so there is something about, yeah, like whatever is this thing under review at work and all that stuff, it's ultimately going to be really good. It just may not even feel like it right now. And so this is why I say, like, the last time I feel like this happened, but it's like actually you have this thing under review at work and you get vindicated and you get a promotion or you get a raise, or they offer for you to do some traveling for work and get a raise, or there's something in there. And then of course you can see how that would expand with Jupiter in your 11th house. That would expand your networks. That would expand the people that you're talking to. So you got that. And then Jupiter in Leo, your 11th house. Jupiter in your 11th makes the network the superpower. People multiply, allies and patrons appear. Big goals get reachable. Shadows just overcommitting to groups and being spread too thin. So that's the thing. With this, you have this moment in here where things are really about to come together here, especially towards the end of the Mercury retrograde. Or like right towards, like towards the end. Doesn't necessarily need to be when it's over. But there is this thing that's been planted because we get through the Mercury retrograde, then we have a full moon. Okay, once we get through that, then we'll actually have a full moon that comes in, and that full moon is going to be in Aquarius. Okay, so we get the full moon in Aquarius, not into the eclipses yet, though, at that point. But then we will hit eclipse season right after that. And that's where the big change comes in. And that eclipse season is going to happen right there in Jupiter. Or in Leo, where Jupiter is in your chart. That eclipse is going to happen right in there. So there's going to be a major change around your networks, around the people you're with, right when there is a benefic planet there that expands things, that blesses things and all of that. So whatever this is now, the difficult thing that you're moving through on it, this is going to be for your highest good. And it's just incredible. It's one of the best things. It just may not feel like it, but it is one of the best things, okay? So if things feel like a little stuck at work, if things feel like they're moving backwards, if you feel like, oh gosh, like, are they going to just remember that? And then, of course, you've got these accents going on in the 9th and the 12th house too. So that's like the hidden blessing thing I was talking about. And then that gets into some type of thing around travel. But then it could also be like around schooling, around a mentor. It can just be a lot of, so that's kind of where patrons can come in, even though it's more like 11th house than 9th, but you know what I mean? So you have that. Okay, but yeah, really, really cool stuff. And then, of course, Neptune's going retrograde right now, too, in your 7th. And just to kind of add that on a little bit, because that Neptune retrograde is going to say, like, where have I been delusional about, like, partnerships and maybe, like, where the value is at and stuff like that. Not that it's so much a value, but, like, there is some delusion that will be shattered around, like, what kind of alliances that you can forge between people that you didn't think you had it within you to form. And that can come from a value thing, which kind of gets into some of the deeper placements. But yeah, I really, really like what's going on with Libra. It's just going to feel like a kind of a difficult placement, just because of that square that's going on. If you're like a late degree Libra, if you're a late degree Libra rising, or you have your birthday later in the month as a Libra, or I should say, like later in Libra season, more specifically. Then you'll have that, like the last 10-ish days. That's about where you'd have that. So, all right. And then Scorpio, Sun, Scorpio rising. New moon is in your 9th house, okay? And then this is the thing, is there's already been kind of this thing coming in where the Mercury retrograde is there. Obviously, this is in conjunction. So this is about rethinking beliefs, okay? And then redoing travel plans, redoing plans for whether it's like studying or learning or anything like that that's coming in. There's like kind of a redo of it, a big idea that comes in that changes everything, that kind of stuff. And so this is really that peak moment for that, where something comes in. It's almost like the movie Inception, I just think of Inception, the movie, and they are trying to give someone an idea and have them think it's originally their idea, it's like this Inception, except for this time it would be your idea, but it's this like thing that starts as a seed plant. I think that's the phrase they use, the seed planted in your mind, and then through this retrograde you go through this thing of kind of emotion, psychological stuff, and all of that gives you this new belief around what you're capable of in your career. Okay, but then also where you need to detach from things when it comes to sharing resources with others, detaching from sharing the resources with other people, detaching from, or maybe even something comes in where there's this huge bill that comes up because you live with a person or you're married to a person, or something like that could come up. Also, you could get like a random inheritance too. There could be a random inheritance, and then maybe people are mad at you for getting the inheritance, like you didn't know you were the favored person. So that's kind of a thing. And also what you could see, not for you, but for the people around you. People around you, like you could walk into work one of these days and like a bunch of people get fired and they keep you. That's like, you could totally see that in this chart. You could walk in one day, a bunch of people get fired, but they keep you. And it's like, what the heck just happened? Like that. You've got that going on too, especially with the Neptune. You got the Neptune retrograde. You got that Mars-Uranus conjunction too, but it's in Gemini, even though that's the 8th house. And then we won't even start to talk about with the 8th house and how in some ways that can deal with coworkers. But I'm just definitely seeing that. And I know like two Scorpios who who like just had that happen. Like while the moon's been in this dark phase. So this is something you can see come up for sure. But you got, so those are kind of the big things right there. There is like something around work that comes up, and getting a promotion. Like, and that's another thing you can see too. That's more of an 8th house thing, is like, because someone else gets fired, you get a promotion. And then you realize what you're capable of in work, and this is where like that seed gets planted. So you really got that over the next 2-week period here, where it can be that, and it's just a whole new belief and frame of mind that comes in around that. And it is so much, because Scorpio rules power, is so much about you realizing your personal power and then taking that to the bank, taking that in with your benefic going on, Jupiter and Leo, with that benefic up there in your career house, being like, I can actually do this. And then Jupiter crowns your 10th promotion here, real authority handed over, a leap in how known you are, shadow, overreach, ambition, outrunning readiness. Yeah. And then we went over those accents there. 11th house too. And so this would deal with that's the hidden blessing through the networks. That's the weird thing right there, that even just digs further into what I was saying with that. But you could totally see that it is going to be around the career, or just like being very seen, like even if you're not working, the ways in which you do your 10th house stuff, like where you're appearing to people, it's your public image too. So there's something that's kind of why the inheritance stuff comes into me. I'm like, oh, well, could be like a public image thing, like where everyone's against you because you got this inheritance. And that's because of the way that you appear in the eyes of this person that versus other people, or like you get a money gift that no one else got, that kind of stuff. Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius rising. New moon in your 8th house, okay? And so this is going to be dealing with that debt, shared resources, investments, that kind of stuff. And so really, like, the Sagittarians, much more so than the Scorpios, are kind of putting the finances under review. What am I sharing things with? People, like the people in my life who I'm sharing things with, like where I need to give money to this person, because like that's part of whatever my rent money. But then I'm finding out, oh, well, this person doesn't pay nearly as much as I'm. Why am I paying all the rent? Why am I paying for this, and that? And so these things are going to come under review, and this is where that seed really gets planted for that. Sorry to keep saying the seed getting planted, or where I actually think this is more like a reset around that. I would say it's like the reset energy, but this is where you see that reset energy that really comes in with that. I'm just like, okay, like I clearly can't be doing this. Like I've been instinctually feeling this. I've been subconsciously feeling this. Now this major moment has come in and shown me, okay, I need to put this under review, and I can't be just totally giving all of myself away anymore, because I have this I want to do. I have that I want to do. Like I have all of this, like traveling and learning and things that I want to do, and like the way that I have believed in what I am worth and what I am doing. all of that needs to go away now. It needs to be washed away. You know, there's that water with the moon, especially, you know, and then with Cancer too. Like, this all needs to be washed away. I want to wash myself of this debt. I want to wash myself of these ties where all my money is being taken from me, where my resources are being taken, even just my time is being taken in a way that's not useful for me. And you'll really see that because this is going to have to do with a long-term relationship. It doesn't even have to be an intimate relationship, but a long-term relationship, even like a familial tie, more like a live-in situation, you could even say. You could have that coming in where there's a major disruption because of all this stuff that has recently come in. But this thing that comes in is just the icing on the cake. And then at that point, it's like, okay, I'm about to find myself. I have these opportunities. Okay, I have all these opportunities available to me, and I can't do any of these because of whatever this situation is. So I'm going to wash myself of this situation and be done with it. And then through that, then I'll be able to do whatever this trajectory is. I feel that I can go on and now understand within myself the value that I create that's been constantly taken from me and siphoned from me. That's really what comes in there. And this is just bouncing off of the new moon in Cancer, the Mercury retrograde in Cancer, which is in conjunction, and that Jupiter in Leo. So we already went over that. Finances back under review, you know, debt, taxes, all that kind of stuff. Old intimate tie returning for closure. You can have that. Jupiter in Leo, your 9th house, okay? And then we already kind of brought this up, but Jupiter comes home to your 9th. Travel, study, publishing, a widening of your worldview. The thing is, you just don't want to be dogmatic. You don't want to double down and be like, this is how it's always going to be, because like, say like, well, I was raised to be this kind of person, and I could never be like a person who wouldn't give their money to this person is that kind of person. And I could never be that kind of person. And so like, that's where the dogmatism will come in. And it's like, well, you need to do what's best for you ultimately. And if people are taking your resources, this can be like your physical resources, your money, or this can just be an energetic thing too. If people are taking too much from you, there's got to be a give and take. The whole thing about the 8th house is there's give and take. It's not just taking from me. Okay. And so that is what's so important about that. And then, you know, just there's this whole thing of thinking that you have all the answers, thinking it has to be this way. That kind of just drives further into it. And then ultimately this will deal with career, and with career being blessed. And if you can start the process now, then by next year, and even in like a month or two, you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference in like a month, like within like a month and a half. You'll see the difference, but then it'll come full circle by the time we get to next year at this time. And then you'll be like, oh, okay. So this is what I could have had for years, but I didn't because I was giving this away. So tougher one for Sagittarius, but it's like, hey, you're in the end zone, and then you really get to have fun. It's about just putting your foot down with certain things right now, okay? Because there are just some things that need to be kind of addressed. That's part of the Sagittarian energy moving into all this new fire energy. There's a cleansing that needs to take place. That's very much of the 8th house energy, just a cleansing that needs to take place, but also really important to remember that you are one of the signs that gets to have the most fun in this new world we're entering. Okay, but it's like you can't have the fun if you're going to be dogmatic, if you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, this is just the way that I am, that it is, and, you know, and it has to be this way, and I don't want everything to ever be this way. It's like, well, you're a Sagittarian. Things are always going to be changing. It's about the adventure for a Sagittarius. What's the adventure in your life always being the same? There's no adventure in that. That's not what you came down here to do. So that's what you got for Sagittarius there. But like I said, it'll really be good. It's just getting through this harder stuff, you know? And we're all feeling this harder energy. So I hate to sound like I'm repeating myself per sign. There's only a couple signs that really get off without having to deal with it, you know? So, all right, Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Rising. This new moon, this is in your 7th house, okay? This is your like marriages, partnerships, contracts, the long-term relationships, clients, that kind of stuff. So really what you're dealing with that is, especially if you're dealing with like, say, a long-term relationship, marriage, you know, a partnership, that kind of stuff. What's kind of going on? What's the new seed that's being planted around that? And what are you needing to figure out around that, okay, because of something that's coming in around the shared resources? So this is another situation where you could see an inheritance come in, or an investment that pays off. an investment you even want to make, would be a great time to make that good investment too. But this is like other people's money kind of flowing towards you. Also, you being able to repay back people who have lent you money. You have that as well. Being able to pay back people who have lent you money in a type of way, or like do them a solid, people who were there for you financially, because there has been this idea of Capricorns building a lot in the last year or so. And they're so used to having all of this momentum naturally, but they know through this period of building they've been able to do that they can build even more momentum that they had before. And so might have needed a little help during that time. Well, now is a time where you can actually like have just paid the people back, can pay it back, but also can see unexpected money come in, incredible placement for it. And it really is kind of a gift for the work that you've been putting in right now. But then also with whatever is going on in your marriage. And then it brings up the baby energy again for me. Like, are you having a baby? But no, I mean, it's something like that. It's some type of reevaluation around what's going on in the home and with the marriage and all that. And it doesn't necessarily need to be negative. I would even say in most cases, it's not negative. This just is something that is like, okay, we need to reevaluate our money together and our resources, because we have this new thing. This is why I say like the baby thing. It's so funny. But because of this, it doesn't have to be a baby, like because of this thing that's coming in where we need to nurture this thing more, whether it's, I need to nurture my daily work more. You know, there's going to be a change in my daily work pattern, and that's going to be needing to be nurtured more. And because of that, we need to evaluate this, and that, and then just come to like a new type of agreement around it. Okay. And then I want to be able to also, like, because of this new stuff coming in, this is going to allow us to go on a vacation, start looking at places you want to go on vacation next year, you know, all that kind of thing coming in. But there is something around that, or even around going back to school too. Is like, hey, like, we're gonna have to make these adjustments because I need to go back to school, you know. But like, thank you for helping me out for this. I just have this little bit of schooling. It's so many things like that, but it's something within these types of realms I'm talking about. Within some of these examples, you're definitely seeing that and gonna feel that. But a change in your work pattern. This could also be a health issue that comes in. A health issue could come in that could cause needing to restructure with the finances a little bit too. You know, this could even just be like an emotional state, health structure, because of someone who passes. That's where the inheritance comes in. But this could also just be a health thing. And through that, you need to pull on investments in order to deal with this health issue. The fertility stuff is coming up to me. It's like fertility, you know, like treatments or whatever like that too, like trying for baby fertility stuff. That could even be in the thing too, and needing to spend some money on that. And that comes up, but there is something with the health too that can be very relevant during this time, especially when you're dealing with like Saturn and Aries in the fourth too, going on alongside all of this too. Yeah, this is like definitely, but it is about creating something sustainable, you know, and something that's gonna last a long time, making sure that you last a long time too. But then like this, if there's another life coming into play here, you know, with the baby or whatever, this is about creating something stable, sustainable. But even just with the schooling part in general, with the health part too, all that stuff wants to be, because you're a Capricorn rising, so you want that stuff to be sustainable and stable and all that, especially now that Neptune has gone retrograde, and it's kind of the shattering of illusions that comes in too. And then this is all going to be opposing the new moon, so it's going to feel like oh, do I really need to there could be this aspect, because you've been building up so much momentum and like doing all these things behind the scenes and feeling like you might not have a lot to show for it, even though you're going to have double, triple to show for it than you actually had before. Okay, you're going to have double, triple that, and then that's where you're all of a sudden going to be like, oh, it's cool for me too. And I know you're going to hate to hear this, but take a break. Take a break for a moment too. There's a big part of this with that opposition that's asking you to take a break and be with your emotions. Okay, if you can get away with taking like a day or two off of work, take it off of work. Relax. Just take it easy for a day or two. Okay, you know, maybe cancel on some things. It's not like you, Capricorn, I know, but maybe just take a step back, cancel on some things, reevaluate everything too. That's the biggest part of this, with this opposition that's going on in this new moon, you know. And even if that's taking a break and just being with your partner for a little bit. It could be something like that, but just taking a step back is so important right now. Okay. Instead of taking on more, trying to keep like you're keeping the momentum going, or, you know, just with whatever of these situations I said that applies to you, there is this moment of rest and relaxation that's needed to go along with it to give you a little bit of clarity, especially just with the way your chart is set up for this in particular, because you are a cardinal sign. Okay. And this is about what you're starting new. This is your rest and retreat before you start something new again. And it will feel weird because it feels like you have started something new, like maybe a year ago, and it hasn't fully taken off yet, but it's going to. And there's this other thing that you're needing to start that's like new. That's the next stage of it, but that's going to like totally unfold the previous stage that you did. And then you get the moment, and you'll be plenty busy in the next 3 years. Trust me, you'll be plenty busy. Okay. Just take a moment. I know that's so hard to hear for a Capricorn rising. Just like take a couple days. And I'm not saying just take one day, take a couple days and just relax. No, but seriously. All right. Aquarius sun, Aquarius rising. New moon in your 6th house. Okay. And so with this, it is really going to be dealing with your work, with your daily work, with your health. It could be dealing with too, daily work or your health. In a reevaluation around those things. Okay. So this is where you see, you know, work and health routines end up being backwards, you know, like maybe you're not taking any time to go to appointments that you've been rescheduling and rescheduling and rescheduling. And then, but like you keep on picking up all these extra shifts at work and freaking out and all that. But it's like, you've got Jupiter going into your 7th house. You've got a new agreement that you can reach around these things. It can be with another person. It can be with like work. If you do freelance work, that's very common for an Aquarius rising. If you do freelance work, there's a new agreement that you can reach with this. Okay. And that new agreement, I mean, that's going to allow you to, you want to get back into equilibrium with your 6th house. Okay. And with your daily routine. Okay, because yeah, with this, I mean, you're typically going to have Aquarians be more of a home body, but it's like, are you at home, working from home and you're just putting all your time into work? Are you working out? Are you doing these things? Are you staying like active? Especially with this Leo energy we're coming into, it's like going to kind of call on you to be a little bit more active. Okay, so that's going on, but there is like an idea, there's a reset around that where kind of, I'm thinking it's like there's something going on with work and with health, and where these are like not in alignment properly, and where that's creating disruption in your heart space. This could even be having heart issues come up too. This could be some like random heart issues that randomly came up. Okay. Maybe you only told like a friend or two about that, random heart issues that have come up. But you know, like really that's going to be very tied to your health. Okay. And like needing to talk to the right people, be around the right people. Okay. And then where are you putting your money to, especially with Venus moving into the 8th? You know, maybe put like, it's in Virgo, which rules the health, in the 8th. So it's like, put some of that money, like pull some savings, pull out from an investment, sell something that you got laying around that you never use, like a nice handbag or whatever it is. You know, I'm just saying, like, you don't make excuses for not putting your health first. That you have something, this chart is telling me you have something available to you to figure out what's going on between your work and your health. Okay. And through that, like it's problem solving energy too. Like you have the answers. So you can figure out really quick, especially this new moon will plant that seed, allow you to take care of that stuff. And through that, you're going to bring in the proper things you need to bring in, especially if it comes to like freelance work, if it comes to you meeting a significant other even, that can be a good thing, especially if you're looking for like a long-term partner that's actually like reliable. That's something too. It's like, okay, well, you want someone who's reliable, but you can't even be reliable to take care of yourself, you know? So you got that. So that's going on. And then you're also dealing with, oh yeah. So I went over that. Let's just read this. Jupiter lands in your 7th. The spark returns, or a beneficial partner, client, or collaborator walks in. Shadow, overpromising to them, idealizing them past reality. That goes so well with what I was saying, because it's like, you're going to be overpromising to them if you haven't fixed your health stuff, and you're like, let's do this thing, you know, and then all of a sudden all this health stuff comes up, and it's like, whoa, I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, I'm kind of looking for someone who's going to be around for a long time, looking for something long term. Are you going to be alive tomorrow? Like, and I know that sounds dramatic, but like, that's the whole thing. Aquarius is like, it's not even to be dramatic. It's like, get your health in order. get your work in order. It's one or the other, okay? Maybe your health is freaking fine, but you're just not working enough. Okay, well, that's another way in which you need to be dependable. So, just make sure you're figuring that out, Aquarius, okay? Because we're coming into Pluto in Aquarius, or we're in it rather. We're in Pluto in Aquarius, where you're about to reach this new level of personal power, but it's only going to be able to happen if you can be healthy enough to keep it in check, okay? Like, seriously. And how are you going to contain that power? You need a vessel that can contain it. You need a healthy vessel. Or you need to be able to move through the world and interact with other people, and you can do that primarily through work, interacting with other people, so that you can bring in that power. You get power from the people. And I know that's hard to hear. I feel, yeah, I've got an Aquarius moon. I love to be alone. But there is this level of, once you put us in a group with people, it's a done deal. Like, we know how to talk to people. We know how to gather information on people, what works, what doesn't work. And we can use that information for all sorts of weird, wacky, wild shit. And I'm not going to give the secrets away, Aquarius. Don't worry. But and I know. Okay. So nothing nefarious, but we're just weird like that. So, hey, but please take heed with the stuff I'm saying. Okay. All right, Pisces Sun, Pisces Rising, okay? This is in your 5th house. It's such a fun one. It gets into your creativity, your romance, play. This can even be having to deal with children too, okay? But it's really going to just be dealing with that heart center, with being yourself and all of that. And then, of course, this happening in that 5th house, it's really about, yeah, you could have someone like come back. You could be thinking about old relationships too. And not even, it could be a long-term relationship, but just like old crushes that you had, old people you talked to, that kind of stuff. And or maybe the way like a prior partner made the house feel versus like a current partner, because there is this play between the home, the long distance relationships too, and then how you're feeling in your heart and all that, and a seed that gets planted around that. And this is going to carry over into your daily work, but also into your health and your routines. It's going to carry over into that in a way. You're going to see maybe how that's changed and how that has changed for the better for you, or how that can change for the better. You're somewhere in between in that space right here. Okay, and this is what that seed that's being planted, and you're going to see that grow. Okay, and then really there is just some disruption in the home though that's going on, and some things that need to get done in the home, and it's all going to be related kind of to this whole thing that I brought up here between the long-term relationships, the past, the present, the comparison of them, what you want to do moving forward, how you want your day-to-day to look, how you want your health to be, how you want to be in alignment so you can do your Piscean thing and be in that dreamy space that you like to be in too, so that you can move the proper way through this world, especially now as Neptune goes retrograde too. There is this evaluation around it where you can refine it, where you can put some details on it, but also this outside thing that came in that is really speaking to, and it deals with the home and deals specifically with a roommate. You're dealing with 4th house, you're dealing with Gemini, which is like roommates. It's like a roommate or a sibling. It could even be, it seems more like a roommate to me, but it could be like a sibling. But then this is like a long-term agreement. So roommate makes a lot of sense. This could be like live-in, boyfriend, that kind of stuff, where there is some weird disruption that's coming up. And the big thing here is not to brush it under the rug, because this is about integrating the emotions with the logic, with the mind and all that stuff. And then if these things from the past are coming up, what's the reason that they're coming up? Are they coming up so that you can realize how much of a better of a situation you're in? Are you in the same situation? Are you in a worse situation? You have to ask yourself, and this does have to deal with your daily routine, how that's affecting your health and your daily work, and how much work you're putting into your daily life, and to how that reflects when you get back at home and you want to be in your typical Piscean self. Are you being allowed to be in that space? If so, then that's great. And that's why this stuff is coming up, so you can realize how far you've come. If not, then it's really just the biggest thing with this is being able to be honest with yourself, because that can be hard sometimes as a Pisces, and that's not, Pisces are like the most honest sign when they're talking, like, honestly, when at least from my experience with Pisces, talking to other people, they're the most honest like sign. Leo's really the most honest, but you know what I'm saying? They're one of the most honest signs. And, but when it comes to being able to lie to themselves, they're very good at it. Okay. And it doesn't mean they do it all the time, but when they do it, they're good, and they won't realize it until years later that they were lying to themselves. So that's kind of the thing. So just making sure you're in a great prime space to be good with your emotions, and connect your emotions to your subconscious, to what you consciously are desiring, and then have them all fold together with this seed that's planted and allow that to grow and then just kind of see. But this is just me like literally planting the seed, and if everything is cool, then it's cool, and the seed will grow into a good thing, or it'll grow into something that's making you aware of something that needs to change within all of those realms that we talked about. But yeah, and then Jupiter grows your 6th. Better work, more clients, habits that finally stick, a possible health turnaround, and the shadows, overwork, or saying yes to every single task too. So these are where the things are going to fall into the work life, but it's because of those blessings that come in through the work life, through the health and stuff like that, like the habits more and the daily routine. That's really more where it's like, oh, okay. But all this kind of comes back around to what's going on in that 5th house. And that play between, they're so integrally locked together in that. So this can be like amazing stuff, or it can be like, yo, like get it together. You got to kind of figure it out for yourself. It's just, I like to be able to give more clarity on that, but it's tough with a Pisces just because of the way they work, that they have to take the ball and run with this one and hopefully just make the proper choice. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. Yep. And so we're going to have Mercury stationing direct. That's going to be on July 23rd. Okay. So we still got some time here. That's when it's going to start going forward again. It's going to station direct, or station, that will station direct, which means it's moving forward. And that's where we kind of, all this stuff that I brought up, there's going to be some clarity around it. Okay. Feel free to book a reading, nightslight.co. And if you like this stuff, of course, subscribe to the channel. Toss it a like, subscribe, gets out to more people and everything. But then also you just get more stuff because I can go pretty deep with things. I've been focusing on more personal readings lately, but I'm very versatile with astrology. And you see, I can go for a long time. So, and I do lives usually. This is going to be uploaded just because I couldn't find a good time slot, and I've got a lot of stuff going on right now. But you saw, I can just hop on here and it just knock them out real quick. My AI can just make me something so I can be a little bit more guided with it. But ultimately, you see, I can just riff off of it. But yeah. And of course, I like to remind everyone to illuminate your path. This is what astrology is for. It's so we can illuminate the path before us. Of course, in like some ways, you can say tell the future, but it's more just about preparing yourself. Literally, it's in the middle of the night and you need your flashlight to walk on the path. You know what I mean? And like that's what it does. It just helps you kind of see where you're going in your life, and that's what this is meant to do. See where you're going. See the energies you're moving into. That's what I really like to do with my Virgo rising self. Like to be of service in some type of way, and my moon in the 6th house too. But no. And then yeah, Linktree/Nightslight. That's got all of my socials. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Rumble. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. Trying to get on Facebook. I don't know. They banned me a long time ago, and they like try not to let me go back on. That's a long story. but no. But yeah, like I said, illuminate your path. I hope you enjoyed the readings, and feel free to subscribe. Have a good one, beautiful souls. Bye.